You're listening to the RMPodcast, the official podcast of Red Moon Productions. Here are your hosts, Brandon Davidson, Keith Cheatham, and Sean Sebastian. Enjoy.
To another episode of the Red Moon Podcast. I am one of your hosts, Brandon Davidson, alongside our normal new host, Sean Sebastian, and don't vomit. It's just Mr. He's not going to say his name.
My name is Keith.
Keith. Also, we have our special guest this week, right to my left here.
Am I special if I've been on so much?
Well, yeah, because you're not a regular host.
That's right. You're very special.
All right. Call me Mr. Special.
You are a guest, and you are special to us.
I like that. Mr. Special.
Mr. Special.
We are joining this week.
Mr. Neil.
After
Neil Bogg.
I jinxed this last week. We did not have a show.
Yeah.
We missed a show, came back.
And then Brandon said, we'll be back, and we won't miss any more.
We won't miss any more, and here we are. We are finally back from another missed week.
And whose fault is that?
We're probably going to miss more. I'm going to say that.
You got to set the bar low.
Exactly.
Set the expectations low. Yep.
That's right.
Yep.
Thank you so much, Neil. You're in town this week.
I am.
You just traveled to it's a weird place up north.
I hear they don't have...
Not Indiana.
They don't have freedom up there.
No.
Yeah, no freedom.
Oh,
That's
man.
why it took me an extra day to get back.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, they probably held you up down there.
You were
didn't they?
sus. They were like, we don't know about this guy.
You were sus. You were a cis
Like,
sus.
this guy's sketchy.
That's what it was. Yep.
He's joining us from Boston. He's going to be at our wonderful... This isn't just any normal show this week. This is on Lake Trip Eve.
Yes, we discuss the lake every year.
Every year.
And I don't know that we've mentioned it this year, so let us now.
Yeah.
We're going to the lake.
Well, because I think... Well, we did mention a couple weeks ago that it was it was questionable as to whether or not we would be going.
That's right.
Because there
Yeah.
was a tree.
A tree
grew
through the trailer.
That's right.
Straight up.
God
Right there.
cannot keep us from going to the lake.
Oh, don't say that.
Yeah. I wouldn't say that. Oh, my gosh.
No better time to find out than now. So the
right.
night before. But no, we are very blessed to have the lake trailer being just fine. It's good. It's in good condition. We're going to be going down tomorrow for the whole week, rest of the week.
15th anniversary.
And Neil just had to join us.
He's
Had
back.
to. It's been a while.
It has.
It's like those shows that run for several seasons too long, and then they get the people from the early seasons to come back for a special appearance just to keep people watching.
Yeah.
But is that
and it
ever
always
good?
sucks too.
I was
though.
about to
It's
say.
never good.
Yeah. Keith.
Yeah.
That's all right. We're keeping the expectations low.
I was also gonna say, like, as far as us making it to the lake trip and the trailer and everything, a lot of hard work went into getting that place ready.
Up.
And
Yep.
it just it made me think. It's like you've got all these people's houses that flooded in eastern Kentucky, and there's church groups and stuff going to help those people, and we didn't. We just kept the lake trailer together.
We worried about
God wanted us to fix that
I
trailer.
know.
our own domicile.
We came together on a mission trip and went down there and fixed that place.
Yeah, we were fixing up a different trailer.
That's right.
From different people.
I mean,
That's
it technically it happened because of the same weather
Sure,
event.
yeah.
Yeah,
So,
true.
Just knock that tree right down.
Yeah.
But
I
we
mean,
are
the
so...
termites may have had some help with that, but you know.
Well, I guess, yeah, they were busy on that tree for
Yeah.
quite some time. Thankfully, everything is intact. Nobody was there. Nobody got hurt.
That's right.
That's also a good thing. And Neil joins us this episode to talk
He
about
joins.
so many headlines. Are you ready?
We have
I did read all of them.
Nice.
Most of all of them.
That's okay. There's a ton.
That's all we're gonna do is headlines.
I mean, yeah, it's a big packed show, but that's okay.
a
We
beast
missed
of a week.
We missed last. I would say we missed last week. We're going to the lake tomorrow, so it could be a double stuff show.
When he says that, you're supposed to just shut up and let us go into the review. He just did the segue.
Who did?
Neil did.
I did.
Beautifully.
It was a beautiful segue.
It's all right.
Said we have a beast of a. What'd you say?
It's a
Well,
beast of a week.
We hadn't
beast
set
of a
up the
week.
review yet, so I didn't.
Here's
know
our
that
review of the movie Beast.
Through the years, Red Moon has reviewed hundreds of movies.
Many good, many bad, and some just not plain worth much of anyone's time. See, even bad movies can sometimes be entertaining, and I don't think I need to explain why audiences would want to watch good movies. Some movies, however, aren't particularly bad, yet have little value. These milquetoast films are an enigma, something with no positive value but still decent on a technical level. These are the films that hold no entertainment value whatsoever. Beast is such a film. Directed by Balthasar Kornacki, director of Everest, Beast, much like Everest, is a film about human survival against the forces of nature. Everest obviously being the conquering of the mountain, Beast, on the other hand, is a story about a family visiting Africa, pitted against a pissed-off lion that is out for revenge due to poachers killing its pride. Starring Idris Elba as Dr. Nate Samuels, Nate is vacationing with his 2 daughters, after the loss of their mother and his wife, whom he had recently separated from before her untimely demise. There is some familial trauma, and a lion killing people and not much else. Beast is the type of film that could have been silly or could have been exceptionally well done, with moments of suspense and tension. It's not really either of these things. Instead, it just is. The familial trauma of Nate and his daughters, who feel he abandoned their mother before her darkest moments, could have been a riveting and gut-wrenching emotional through line. Instead, it's relegated to random conversation pieces where all the actors talk on top of each other and dialogue feels random and improvised. Being hunted by a pissed-off lion out for revenge sounds silly, and the premise kind of is, but it's treated seriously enough to not be laughable in a bad way. Instead, it's just ridiculous and unbelievable. Not that a lion with its back against the wall wouldn't kill, sure it would, but we see the beast survive feats that would kill Herculean men, let alone a wild animal. The incredulous nature of these events that happen one after another stills any suspense and terror the movie could have instilled in its audience. And with the lack of real character development and emotion in its characters, there's never a point where I was concerned about the cast living. In fact, characters make such ignorant decisions that at some point you have to feel they deserve to die. Beast isn't the worst film we've reviewed, but it doesn't really have any positives. The story is predictable and bland, with horrible writing and dialogue thrown on top of unrealistic scenarios, with characters you don't care about making dumb decisions. The only draw to the film is Idris Elba, and even his performance is subpar. I give Beast 1.5 out of 4 stars.
1.5 stars for Beast.
Yep.
So we're going to talk about it briefly.
All right, that was it.
That was it. Enough for me to have said, oh, there's our lower third that says Beast is 1.5 out of 4 stars. It's a movie worth passing up.
Yep.
Alrighty, guys, I think we're ready to move into our headlines. So let's just let's roll that headline open. Let's get into it.
Is that the fastest?
Maybe, yeah. I think it is. That's the fastest.
We've not even hit the 10-minute mark. Normally,
Yeah.
like we're still
Yeah.
talking.
It's like we didn't
doing
even get to
the-
bash it.
We got in the we got our review out of the way.
Yeah.
We told you it's not worth your time, and now we're into headlines. That's
Yeah,
it. We
yeah.
got so much to cover.
It's not
Yeah.
even worth our time.
Nope, it's not. So we're not going to talk about it. We are going to talk about, though, however, another sad passing. Just real quick.
MoviePass?
No, not yet.
Regal Cinema?
They're coming
Soon.
back.
It will be passing soon.
We're talking about another loss of,
Yeah.
of
Virginia Patton Moss passed away at 97. Does anybody know who that is?
yeah.
She was one of the Oompa Loompas in Willy Wonka.
That's it. You nailed it on the head.
It's a Wonderful Life.
Yeah,
One of my
all right.
favorite movies.
There
Love
you
that
go.
movie.
Do you watch it every Christmas?
I do.
That's it. She was the last surviving member of It's a Wonderful Life.
Mm-hmm.
She was the only one left.
Jimmy Stewart's not dead.
What?
He's not dead.
Where'd he go?
He left.
This is like the third person I found out today isn't dead.
They're not. They just
Wait.
they leveled up.
They all went to Vegas.
I think
We know this. They
I
all are
think
there with
they all
Elvis.
saw how bad Hollywood was getting, and they just said, "We're getting out."
My dad loves that movie, and
I love
yes,
that
he watches it every year, and it is honestly a Christmas movie that I cannot make it through.
Wow. Really?
Interesting.
I would watch it not even around Christmas. I
I
just
know.
think it's a good
I know
movie.
people love the movie.
Yeah.
I don't enjoy that movie.
Is that why you don't enjoy it?
What?
Because everyone loves it? Just
Maybe no.
You know it needs
literally
someone to
Gone
hate
with
it.
the Wind. Everybody talks about Gone with the Wind. I'm like,
I get that.
that
one.
movie was not that great.
It's Gone with the Wind's fine, but it's not.
I get it. Here's the thing. I do love it for.
The message is okay.
Well,
yeah,
it's not just that. It's like you do have to somewhat. It's hard because it's like
You have to remember like the time frame too, because they're kind of campy compared to how movies are now. But
Ben-Hur, man.
oh man,
Ben-Hur's
that was
fantastic.
Yeah.
And it definitely surpassed what it could have what could have
Yeah.
been made at that time.
Yep.
I mean, that's how I feel like Return of the King is going to be in 50
Jacob
years.
Burris just corrected you
What?
and said that she was the last surviving adult star in the film. The
Oh.
child actors
yes.
are still living.
Yes.
Thank you, Jacob.
Jacob's
Thank
correct.
you, Jacob.
Yes.
I apologize.
Yes.
thanks, Burris. See you Friday.
Yep.
Yeah, he'll be on our lake trip too.
He knows.
We're coming
He knows
for you,
his
Burris.
stuff.
But no, we wanted to bring this up too because I think as well as we've seen so many greats pass, and especially these from the definitely the golden age of Hollywood. It's just again, it's not like it hasn't been clear. It's just something that's not on your minds all the time. And then when a great one passes from a just, I mean, I
I feel like there's
understand.
been a great amount of actors that have
What was
passed,
that? Just a couple weeks ago, it was Olivia Newton-John.
Yeah,
too.
well, that was just yeah.
And,
Was that last
and
week?
Hesh.
Anne
No.
Heche, she's not really a great
She's not one of the
actress.
No,
Greats.
but yeah, that's true.
I would put her.
That's true.
She sucked.
But I'm just, she was someone notable that died.
She
You're
did.
right.
I
she's
mean,
not great. But I'm just.
she went out in
there's
a
been
blaze of
lot
glory. I would say that.
Yeah. There's just been a lot of famous and integral. I mean, even like some of the not well known ones. Some of the special effects artists and directors that have passed. I mean,
Yeah.
there's just been a lot of heavy hitters that made Hollywood what it is.
Well, and that's the thing. Even for those who don't particularly like films, like It's a Wonderful Life or something, you can at least understand the cultural impact that they've had.
Absolutely.
And so to have a star who was a part of that and literally being a classic that is watched, by many millions every year around Christmas time. It's just sad. It's another sad passing.
It's sad that like you said, the ones from the golden age, but I look at them as like those are the ones that we think of when we think of celebrity.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, it's somebody not only that had a great career, but it's also somebody that back then and maybe even up until her passing, like people looked up to. It's like there's nobody in Hollywood that people look up to except Chris Pratt. Not
Alec
anymore.
Baldwin.
I'm just saying.
You don't
There
look
are
up-
no.
you don't
There
look up
are
to
no.
Alec Baldwin.
No.
Oh, he's going to be one we talk about in our headlines too.
Yeah, we got a lot.
God.
I mean,
All I
move
can
on.
say is an angel got her wings. Okay.
I saw that tweet. You copied.
I stole it from a headline. I saw that.
Yeah.
I did.
Well, speaking of death and resurrection, MoviePass returneth
It's set
Labor
its
Day
return date.
weekend.
It starts its beta. You can sign up starting this
You
Friday.
can sign up starting Thursday.
Thursday.
And then the beta launches Labor Day weekend, and you'll get an email with the tiers. There's a $10, $20, and $30 tier estimate. They said it could vary by region.
Of
so
course,
who
yeah.
knows?
It'll change after you sign up.
So
too.
mine will be 40.
Well, the people in charge now weren't the same people in charge when that was going on. It is the original
So
CEO.
they're actually ethical.
Well, it was the CEO who originally started MoviePass, and then he left, and I don't know who had it when
Well,
it was.
he was ousted.
He was ousted.
He
that's
was
what it
ousted
yeah.
by
Stacey,
Helios and Matheson. Stacey, I'm forgetting his name. Starks, is that it?
Oh,
I was gonna pull it up.
He
Don't
was-
you better get it right because you remember that
I
guy
remember-
on YouTube.
I was gonna bring
it
up.
was like
Yeah, it's Stacey's a he. Remember that?
Yes.
Stacey Spikes. Stacey Spikes. Yeah.
Well, yeah, he ripped us up. And
Oh,
down.
yeah.
I was kind of hoping he'd tune in again tonight and be like, I still got stock in it.
yeah, still got stock
I'm
in it.
signing up
Y'all
day
gotta,
one
y'all
for
gotta
beta.
bring it back.
So let's talk about this because I was immediately intrigued.
I'm intrigued.
Because
I'm
this
not
was
gonna...
mentioned last fall. We brought
Yeah.
it up
Yeah.
again, hence the YouTube comments of the very disgruntled guy who's really backing
Called
MoviePass.
Stacey a her.
Oh God.
I did. Oh, heaven forbid. And he is. Hey, any more these days, you
called
never
us
know.
idiots.
But the fact is, they now have a plan moving forward.
yeah.
Other than just having the pricing tiers, we don't know of any
They have
other
not-
information.
That's one thing that bothers
So I'm like, why are
me.
you even asking people to sign up for a
It sounds
beta
like
that you
it's
don't
gonna
even
be
know what they're
harder-
getting?
It sounds like it's going to be harder to get MoviePass than it is to get a PS5. I mean, the way they're doing this whole thing, there's a small window for people to sign up for the beta,
Yeah.
and all. I mean, it's like you got to put a you got to put money down. The one that the second article you shared talked about how you had to like actually put money down to hold your spot, and then you might not even get it.
All
And
I
it's
heard
like,
was to sign up for the beta, you just need an email address and a zip code. That's it.
I thought one of
I don't
them
think
said
you
had
need to lay
put
down any money.
your
The money, now they may do this on Labor Day when it launches, because it
Maybe
launches
maybe
on
that's
Labor
what it
Day
was.
weekend,
Yeah.
and that may be when, once you signed up for the beta, willingly saying, I want to participate.
You have to pay
then,
the first 6 months.
Oh
It
God.
would, honestly, it would not surprise me.
Yeah.
I wonder if you'd have to. But I don't know. I mean, I'm intrigued because another headline we're going to be talking about here in a little bit. We've got Regal Cinemas possibly filing for bankruptcy.
Yeah.
AMC stock was down 40%.
AMC's
Or not, I'm sorry, their projections were down 40% for the quarter.
They're a joke.
So the fact is we've been dogging on AMC every chance we get, even though we subscribe.
Yeah.
We are paying customers. We have the ability to
Oh, and we have good reason to be upset with it. Here's
Yeah,
the thing.
absolutely.
The AMC membership, I will defend as being a great deal. It is a fantastic deal. The problem is that our theater is so run down and so poorly managed that it makes our great deal not worth it when you're sitting in broken seats. They don't project the film in the right ratio, or I don't have the projector set up right. The movie's late. The floors are sticky.
Sound is not good.
You get in the A-list line, and you still have to wait for all the people in the regular line to be served because they don't have anyone there, and they don't take you first like you're supposed to. So it's like, what am I paying for if you're just jipping me? And that's what makes us angry.
Yeah, but don't you feel like that maybe just our location is just very poor, and that other places it might be?
It could
I mean, there
be.
might actually be an AMC that looks like the one that
Is in Boston?
No, that one was wonderful.
The one that's in the commercial with Nicole Kidman.
That's the thing. I'm not saying.
I don't think that's AMC.
I guarantee there's
They
plenty
shot that
of
at
great.
Cinemark.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I guarantee. I mean, we went to the one in Boston, and it was fantastic.
Yeah,
But
the two that I've been to near me are
But
both
that's the thing.
great.
Yeah, I went to one in Alabama that was really nice too.
I'm not saying AMC is bad everywhere, but the fact is, it
Our
doesn't
experience is
matter
bad, yeah.
if people are having a bad experience in one of your theaters, and you as a company are investing in gold mines and not investing in making sure that your shit theaters are getting better.
And for you all, you've been going there for how many
I think
years?
it annoys me because we
Like-
get surveys all the time, and I always fill them out, and I always give them terrible reviews. I've sent pictures in of trash piled up outside of the floors and everything, and still, like, and I've even sent one so bad that they sent me an email afterwards and said, would you want to talk to somebody, like, if they reached out to you? And I was like, yes, and no one ever reached out to me. So I'm like, look, this is what's annoying, is please, like,
I'm going to show
I
them.
don't trust MoviePass yet.
I'm going to
but-
show them the picture.
Oh, yeah, it's bad.
That's the trash outside of AMC theaters. Just
It's not
stacked.
even in the garbage. They literally
It's
stacked
insane.
it around the garbage can.
Yeah. There you go, Neil. He's in.
I don't trust
Beautiful.
MoviePass
That's funny,
yet. They burned us out. But over
Yeah.
time, if they prove themselves and it's a fantastic deal, I would consider it, because at some point I want to know that I'm going to have a good experience, and that, I mean, the sound when we went and saw Beast was horrible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like it got when the film started. I think
was
it was
okay.
fine, but everything before
Yeah.
that, I mean, I'll give them that. But when you go to when you leave a theater and you're done seeing the movie, you go to take a piss, and the guy's like, "I just mopped in there," and then you go in there, and it's like,
What'd you
"What
mop?
did you mop?" Like,
Did,
the
did
floor
you
was
wet.
spit on the floor
Yeah.
and then just wipe it
The
around?
floor was wet,
but it was still
it
dirty,
stunk.
and everything else was dirty.
There's stuff growing on the urinals.
Yes, it's gross.
It's like, you didn't clean in here. You just took a wet mop and just
Yeah.
got everything wet and
All
walked
right,
out.
honestly,
you just smeared the piss that was on the floor around.
Yes,
is all you
right.
did.
That's exactly what
Could
he
you
did.
I wonder if you could contact that's got to be against some codes or something.
you could.
Probably. If I
Well,
really
here's the
wanted to
thing.
be an a-hole, but
But
I mean,
no.
sanitation
Well,
code.
I think
it's not
Keith-
really even being an a-hole. I mean, but yeah.
No, but I also agree with Keith. It's like he already went through the trouble of saying, "Yeah, reach out to me."
Yeah.
Like if you want to, and then they didn't.
Yeah.
And it's not like we're expecting, an overnight fix. I agree with you, Neil. It's like, but we've been going there ever since COVID hit, and it was already. Trust me, this is not a COVID thing. They can't use that excuse.
No, not
this was
anymore.
already starting to dwindle. It just got
I
rapidly
think it's
worse.
a management issue, and
Yes.
until whatever district manager, I guess, is over multiple areas, like until somebody in charge looks at this manager and says, "Hey, fix your crap." Like, it's not going to get better.
Something tells me that what's going on is we must be in an area where this is not a high performing theater, according to AMC.
Yeah.
So we're not going to be getting any of the love anytime soon that their other higher marketable theaters are getting,
Yeah.
or high traffic theaters.
Yep.
And while you could sit there and say, okay, that's to me it's a bad business decision. But hey, they don't have the money right now. Again, they're 40% under what the quarterly expectations were.
Well, I mean,
even if you use that to blame, I mean, like, then to me, I'm sorry, you're as a business, you're spread too thin. And you maybe need to think about selling certain things instead of, going and opening up or pitching in money for a gold mine to try to literally get gold so that you can support your theater business. I really believe that they right now are in a position of, hey, why don't you sell some of these theaters? And there are always going to be other ones that you can buy up, or heaven forbid, maybe even reinvest and build a new one somewhere else, if you actually get back on top again. But if you're spread too thin right now, then don't freaking sit there and use it as an excuse to just leave the building in shambles and trash piled high. Freaking, I don't know. I mean, it's like they don't even hire a lawn care
there's
company.
There's grass.
There's freaking grass thrown through all the
mold
cracks
going down the side of the building.
It's
they need to
sick.
pressure wash it. Yeah.
And I'm just like, we pay Stubbs A-list, and that's another thing. If Stubbs A-list is the problem, then then you're basically on a slow dwindling path that MoviePass just exacerbated by just going balls to the wall crazy with their business model.
Yeah.
But you're replicating it by not being able to keep your business as it should be in the cleanly manner. And honestly, the only theater that is of any real use there is IMAX. If you don't go to an IMAX showing, all their other theaters are subpar.
Yeah.
I hate to say it.
They're pretty. The sound and seats and everything, but like literally IMAX is the only one they actually do take care of.
Mm-hmm.
So on Thursday, are you all gonna sign up?
No.
Good question. I don't know.
Brandon's tempted.
Well, so how much are you paying right now?
I pay 20.
20 a month
20.
is AMC Stubbs A-list.
So if you knew you could get MoviePass, similar to what it was, maybe not the exact same, but you had to pay 30, 35.
Well, they have the tiers 10, 20, 30. I mean, if they could offer something comparable to AMC, and I knew that I could trust them, I would jump ship. It's just
they did state too that while they have that, I think the MoviePass article we'll have linked in the description stated that they have 25% of certain theaters signed on board.
Partnership.
Yeah.
But they did say that if you sign up, they're going to be sending you a MasterCard just like they did originally that you can load with funds.
Not red.
Yeah.
They said their color scheme is black, not red.
Or not rebranding, but
it's the same logo
changing the image
on a black.
Yeah.
It's basically to say, don't use that old one.
Don't use the red one.
Yeah, you can't use that one. It's obsolete.
Yeah.
But I really don't know. I'm tempted in so much as what I liked about MoviePass was not the ridiculous see a movie a day. That's where I thought they were crazy.
They did the unlimited, and I think that's what killed them.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. There's no way.
But to me,
3 movies a week with Stubbs is unlimited to me.
And that's but to me that's going to be one of the things that MoviePass is going to have to deliver on, because there's been a lot of instances where I have seen more than one film in a week. And I know that's a lot. That's not the normal moviegoer. Doesn't see that many movies, but there's been times when I have done that. It's going to have to be a tier where I can see at least 2 films a week.
I would agree.
And if they don't have anything, like if it's like one movie a week or whatever for $30,
if they did
that ain't worth it.
$10 a month, one a week, and $20 for even two a week.
That might be worth it.
And they may even do something like, I mean, you're right, Sean, because I could see them doing more so like $20 and you get 3 a month. And I know that may not be enough for most people.
Well, they said you get credits, and then you use those credits for the movie tickets.
Yeah.
And they haven't explained that, but they just said that's how it's supposed to work.
I think that right there may have something to do, because the article is a little bit confusing in the 25% partnership, but then it also in the next sentence goes to say that anywhere MasterCard is accepted, you'll be able to use it. So
and
I'm thinking maybe
could load
the credits
on there.
Maybe the credits can be used at 25% of those partnering theaters, but your MasterCard can be used anywhere. And that would add something to it, because to me, if as long as they're loading stuff onto the MasterCard, you should be able to use that anywhere, just like it used to be.
And that would be the only benefit.
So the credits are either able to be used with an app at partnering theaters, or they're loaded onto that card, and that's where.
But to me,
how many credits a month do you get
is the
for
feature
$20
that
or $30?
I'm mostly interested in.
Yeah.
Is if you can tell me that I can use this at any theater.
Yeah.
That to me at least breeds competition for AMC to step it up and do better. If they allow that, then I at least have the option of going somewhere else.
Yeah.
And I'd probably still go to AMC for IMAX movies. But for something like Beast or, heck, there's plenty of other films that I've seen this year.
The next Marvel movie?
True. At this point, I don't care about seeing it in IMAX.
I know, that's what I'm saying.
But it's like, I have definitely wanted to go, and it's been forever since I've gone to Showcase out there on Preston.
I went when my family went and saw Spider-Man, and it was really nice. Like
my
they
parents
really
went and
fixed it up.
saw I forget, it was a kids movie with my nieces and nephews, and they said it was fantastic.
Yeah.
Encanto, and they said it was great. And I want that experience again of going to the theater and it being as magical as Nicole Kidman says.
Yeah.
But it's not when I know the
It's not
floors
when
are sticky.
Nicole Kidman has to sit there and tell you it is.
It's different when you have Stubbs A-list, because that's an AMC thing. Their pricing is the same. I mean, depending on what region you live in, like Neil lives in Boston, I'm sure it's more expensive, but everything's
How much
more expensive
is in Boston?
So,
I mean, I gave it up. I think it was like 25.
Okay, that's
yeah,
not
but I'm
terrible.
talking about movie tickets in general. If you were outright
Yep.
paying for a movie ticket,
Yeah.
if it's 18 at ours, it's probably 22 or 24 at his. But it's the same in that region,
Yeah.
and AMC can set that price with MoviePass. Let's say MoviePass gives you enough credits to go see a film at AMC, but then you're not going to get the same amount of credits to go see a movie at the one in St. Matthews with the leather seats that recline and all that.
Yeah.
Those movie tickets are quite a bit more expensive than AMC's.
Well, but here's the
so
thing.
I'm saying that
I don't know.
how
I
are they
don't
gonna
know.
how are they gonna work that out?
I think they're banking off the fact that kind of in the same way AMC is in general with, okay, but we can still offer that price cut to some of our valued customers in the higher end markets where they're going to be paying more, but we're going to be making that up in the lower end markets. And I think
Right, but the theater wouldn't be making that up. MoviePass is making that.
Yeah.
True. But
So
I
that's
think MoviePass is hoping to make that up regardless based on whatever tier you subscribe to and how often you visit. Because
Yeah.
they're also still banking on, and this is where they were at the end of the tailspin when it was crashing and burning, was, we're going to limit it. For one, they limited certain releases, which
Yeah,
was bad
certain
news bears.
times.
All the
Yeah.
blockbuster releases. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was like, you can go see this, but only matinee.
Yeah.
Only on
that
this
was towards
day.
the
Yeah,
end.
yeah.
And I was
Yeah.
reading, I guess a lot of how they did that was that they were actually like pre-buying, because they said they weren't able to provide enough tickets for Mission Impossible to meet the demand of the people who wanted to see that movie.
Yeah.
So I don't know how that worked, if they were actually like pre-purchasing tickets for movies from theaters and you just reserved one like through movie, like that didn't make sense to me. Like
Yeah,
and
it
that-
doesn't. When
it
you're
doesn't.
using a MasterCard, it's like any other
Yeah,
transaction.
It's like cash.
First come, first serve.
Well, but
yeah.
they loaded the money on there, so that's what I don't understand. But it's weird, but you did have to pick the movie on their app that you
yeah.
were going to see.
Yeah.
It's like
So-
a MasterCard gift card.
So I
Yeah.
don't know. Maybe they just bought bulk tickets to. I don't know. It was weird. Like when I was reading about it, I was like, how did that work? You mean you didn't have enough tickets to supply MoviePass customers to see Mission Impossible? Because they said that's why they went to limited like showings of certain movies.
Well, and even
because
getting
they
to
couldn't
the
afford to, I guess, shell out that much for all these tickets for that people wanted to see.
but getting to the surface of it too, it's like that's the bigger problem MoviePass has in general. I mean, forget. I'm willing to try it again, hoping that it does better under the manage. Because the reason Stacey Spikes was kind of ousted wasn't necessarily that he was running the company.
She. No. It's a he, right?
Because he told them that what they were doing wasn't feasible
Yeah.
and they didn't like
But
it.
here's the thing: it was on a downward spiral
Yeah.
already. It was hemorrhaging money. I think the original start was in 2007 or was it 17?
It was before most people even knew it existed.
Right,
Yeah.
and it was the Helios and Matheson buyout that skyrocketed when they did. I mean, it jumped from literally 100,000 subscribers from the old model, which is kind of akin to what I'm seeing them remarket right now, jumping it back into we'll see one movie a day and for $10 a month, and it's like it's not sustainable. But it jumped from 100,000 or it was like 100,000 to literally like 3 million subscribers
Yeah.
immediately. And I'm like, so they saw the writing on the wall and were thinking, this is going to be such a huge hit that over time it'll sustain itself. We'll just get bigger and bigger and use this hype. And not even they could support the massive growth that they had. And hopefully maybe, what Spikes is going to do is come in and take a little bit of learning from, what Helios and Matheson's did, who filed for bankruptcy. They're no longer a company anymore, but they did just settle apparently out of court. They were getting sued by like the federal government, 4 courts in California were suing them. It was like a bunch of lawsuits, and they settled, I think, recently for $400,000, which is chump change compared to what they probably made even just in the bankruptcy alone. They probably kept most of their assets.
Well, hell, they were not letting people cancel and still charging them. So I mean,
well, that's the big problem that they have is the brand itself is tainted.
Yep.
You have to bring people back into the fold by shooting them straight. And as much as I'm willing to give them a second try, the only way I will definitely put money down is if I know for a fact that they're going to be forthcoming and transparent with all the information possible.
But that's what I get from these articles is they're kind of vague. And I'm like,
that's what I'm saying.
If you're not giving me the gist of it up front, then I'm not signing up.
That's what bothers me is like you have to sign up for the beta through email, and then once it relaunches, we'll give you the details. I'm like, I don't give the details before I sign up for the beta.
They're trying to get an estimate of demand before they figure stuff out, which, fine, but you don't do that by launching this.
Well, you don't do it after the failure of it the first time. Like, people already know, steer clear of MoviePass. Now you're trying to relaunch it, and you're being just as kind of shady as it was before.
If it was
maybe not as bad,
a brand new startup that was gaining traction, and they're just using this as a big splash, I think more people would be intrigued. But because so many people have a bad taste in their mouth, it's going to take a lot to get people back to the table.
One thing that's scaring me about it, just reading this over again, is that it says each subscription option will give the user a number of credits to use each month to see movies. So if you're paying $20 a month, and let's say they give you 300 credits loaded up on your card. Well, if an average movie ticket at IMAX, $18, if that costs 150 credits, then basically certain movies are going to cost more credits than others. And by the end of the month, you might not have enough money or enough credits to get you that other movie ticket.
You're right.
And then you got 50 credits towards the movie, but you got to pay $10 of your own money in addition.
I guarantee you that's the way it's going to go.
If it's like that, I'm not going to like that.
Because you're right. They're going to basically say, oh, well, you can go see this movie, but you only had enough credits. You can buy more credits for this, though, before the new month comes up.
Yep.
And it's like, oh, I can pay $5. Exactly.
Just like the video game world.
And honestly,
it's terrible.
I don't think that's going to be a good
Maybe they'll throw
model.
an NFT in there for you, too.
AMC's doing that.
Yeah.
Oh, they're so great. Alrighty, guys, let's move on to our next headline, which happens to be Avatar got removed from Disney+.
It's funny. This one actually did tick me off a little bit because I don't remember hardly anything about the first Avatar other than Stephen Lang. And I just thought I would revisit it before the sequel came out. And then I find out Disney pulled it off of Disney Plus because they're putting it back in theaters in September. And I
have 3 copies of the Blu-ray.
Oh,
you can have one if you want.
You're the problem.
Yeah, you're the problem.
Giving them so much money.
I have one copy that I paid for. And then when my uncle passed away, my aunt gave me all of his Blu-ray movies, and he had 2 copies of it. He had one that was like the original Blu-ray that came out, and then he had the one with the extra scenes, and it's still in plastic. It hasn't even been opened yet.
I just figured if I really wanted to watch it, I would just get a screener of it.
Yeah.
Well, and that's kind of what people are saying.
Yeah, that's what people will do.
Yeah,
Well,
and a lot of tweets have been coming out, and they're basically saying this proves why you should own it and not just depend on streamers.
Yep.
And I'm like, yeah, Disney, you're screwing yourself in the, shooting yourself in the foot here.
It makes no sense to take something that you own off of your streaming service, and the only logical explanation anybody can come up with now
is to make more money.
And I agree with them, is that the only reason they did it is to force people to go see it in theaters. Oh, you want to revisit it? Well, go pay to see it in theaters.
It'll be the 4th time it's released in theaters.
Yeah.
Which is insane.
And I'm like, no.
It's the only way they're going to beat Top Gun.
I'm not paying you another cent. Yeah, I'm not paying you another cent to watch this movie in theaters. Either put it on your streaming service or I'll find another way to watch it.
Well, and a lot of people are promoting that.
Yeah.
And as much as we don't promote that here on this show, for this movie, I'll make an exception.
It's funny because,
I never watched it when it was on Disney Plus because they everything else on there is in freaking 4K,
They don't
but
have
not
a
Avatar.
4K. Yeah, they don't
And
have
I'm
it.
like, why
Trans-
isn't JC releasing a 4K version of
It's not
Avatar?
up to JC.
Or why aren't they even upscaling it or something?
No,
they
it's been-
redid Star Wars, all
For
of them in
the
4K.
last theatrical release I was reading, they did go back and give it like a 4K, but they still haven't released it. Like
No.
they're expecting that they've been holding it for the sequel.
That's
Yeah.
or-
If I was
or-
gonna watch
yeah.
it, I would watch the
What-
regular Blu-ray in 1080
Well,
because
see-
it looks better than what Disney is
The
pushing
theory
to
is
streaming.
when the second one comes out in 4K, they'll also release the first
So yeah,
one.
they're gonna come out in September,
Then
have,
I'll have
the
4
release
copies of it.
the.
Yeah.
Screw you.
They'll give you
You
a
have an
box
addiction.
set.
it's the movie sucks, but it's beautiful.
I don't think they
It
look
is visually.
that great
I think it's
anymore.
visually amazing.
I
agree.
Last time I saw it, Kyle was watching it, and I was like, man, these effects don't really hold up the way I thought they would for as
I don't
much
know.
praise as it
I still
got.
think it looks pretty darn good.
I think Lord of the Rings holds up better than it did.
Agreed. I think
Return
so.
of the King. Yeah.
Especially
the
Gollum.
4K releases, yes,
yeah.
where they've went back and,
And here's the thing.
touched up the
And-
digital.
and
to-
maybe
to look
Avatar
better.
4K does.
Maybe.
I don't
Maybe
know.
it will.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe if they go back and
Yeah.
touch that up, it may be. But I just,
It seems like what they're going to do, though, is release it short term to get extra money. The second one will come out. They'll pull it out of theaters, obviously, for the second movie, and then they'll put it back on Disney Plus.
I think
but
that-
it's ridiculous that you subscribe
Yeah.
for the entire content that is available.
Yeah.
Like, and we also need to bring this up, too,
Is it
because the
HBO
same thing
Max
with
is
HBO.
yes, they're having a massive problem right now with distrust amongst their subscribers because they're just gutting everything.
Well, especially stuff that is original content. It's
Yeah.
like it's not costing you a dime to keep it on your server.
I was reading today. They have literally they were developing an animated Batman series from the guy that made the Batman animated series in the 90s, and J.J. Abrams and Matt Reeves is producing it. Apparently, they're axing that on HBO Max, but they're not axing the project entirely. They're going to shop it around at other networks. I'm like, so hold on. You own this property. You could put it on your streaming service to entice subscribers.
Yeah.
But because you don't want to pay for the full production, you're going to shop it around to other people to have on their network or streaming service. What kind
ridiculous.
of? Could you imagine Disney being like, we don't want to pay to make a Mickey Mouse movie, so we're going to shop it around to other networks? Like that's your brand, DC and Looney, because they're doing the same thing with a couple Looney Tunes movies they were going to make for HBO Max. Now they're
You
going to
didn't
shop.
realize they are doing that.
They're shopping it around.
No,
for other networks.
it's called Mickey Mouse and Pandora.
Yeah. But I'm just saying, it's like
Pandora.
something like Looney Tunes is a brand distinctly recognizable with Warner Brothers. It's
Yep.
like
Yeah.
you're taking something that is part of your brand and just saying, let's let someone else help produce it and let them get part of the money for it
Yeah,
too.
when their
because we're being
contract's
cheap.
up, it'll come out on HBO Max, and everybody will have
just-
forgotten about it by then.
Well, because and this is the problem with streaming. Even though they've received some recently good news that we thought had probably passed a long time ago, but it's
the
ridiculous.
Avatar
But
trailer is playing on my screen right now, and I'm laughing at
I'm
it.
telling you,
The Avatar 2 trailer.
oh, the way of
They're
water.
in the water and
man.
stuff. It's,
The way of the
yeah.
water.
Way of water.
The way of water.
It's
Anyways,
just-
pulling
it's great.
things you actually own off
hold
of
on.
a streaming service.
And the problem that I have with this is it's streaming services that are their own freaking worst enemy.
Yeah.
Because you can't sit here and tell me that you're going to have this huge plethora of a library and then it's available if you pay this low fee per month. And then, oh, by the way, though, we're going to just every once in a while pull stuff off of there. It made sense with Netflix when they had contracts with certain
well,
distributors.
things that they didn't own or produce.
Right,
Yeah.
But the problem is that for one, all of their original stuff, everything that they've produced,
they actually made or paid for
is
still on
available.
there.
Even if it's been canceled and they no longer produce it, you can still go back and watch
excluding the
it.
Marvel stuff, and that's because Disney owned it.
Right.
Like, that makes sense.
But
I
at
mean,
least you can go back and see even things you probably enjoyed, like the Dark Crystal, that will never ever see the light of day
hate
again.
you. I hate
I gotta
you.
bring it up every time.
I hate you.
Yeah.
But I also think it's ridiculous that you're going to have people pay these prices and talk about how great of a deal it is, but only in so much as that the library you want is available at that point in time, but it may not always be the case.
I never know now. It's like, okay, at what point are you going to decide to pull something like I'm in the middle of watching because I didn't realize that you just don't want to pay that licensing
Even
fee.
though you own it.
Yeah.
They own the rights to it, but they just decided, oh, well, we want to make this a little, because it'll drive up movie sales. It'll drive up the 4K special Blu-ray that we're going to have come out in the next month. I mean, that's literally what they're doing.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, I can't get behind that, because the point of me paying for a subscription is that it's available when I want it.
And again, like, it's funny because back when people got sick of paying for cable, when they got sick of paying for stuff, they started pirating. Streaming came out, and pirating went down. People actually pirated less because it was cheap and easy to go through streaming. And now that all of this is happening, there's been an uptick in pirating of movies and content. Why? Because when you make it a hassle and too expensive for people to have to deal with trying to get the content,
they steal.
Yeah, they steal. And I'm not saying that's okay. I'm not making excuses, but obviously you would think as a company you would know at some point when you see this cycle of hard to get content, pirate. Oh, easy to get content,
but the
no
thing
pirating.
is once you're suckered in, you're suckered in. And
Yeah.
I'm sorry, because it's just like with Apple Music and Spotify. It's like, yeah, you had pirating of music, but pirating went down when iTunes came out. And then it took maybe another 8 to 10 years before pirating kind of worked its way back up because people didn't want to pay $1 for a song.
Right.
Yeah.
But
But
these
then the
companies
subscription changed that again.
The subscription changed that again, and these companies are willing to take a loss on the few people who they know are going to go through the hassle and jump through the hoops to pirate, but ultimately at the end of the day are going to come back around to, the average Joe's going to subscribe, and it's all of these subscribers that are going to make up the difference. And I have no doubt that Disney Plus, Warner Brothers with HBO, and I love their excuse of, we're going to use this as because we're merging Discovery Plus with them, we got to take some stuff up. BS. You don't have to remove content to put Discovery Plus content. Your servers are not that small.
Content that, again, you own.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, I will say in defense of HBO or Warner Brothers, looking at the list of the 40 things that they're taking,
I know you wouldn't
I've
watch
never
any
heard
of
of
it.
any of it.
Most of it's not
a
worth
single
it
thing.
anyways,
So I'm
yeah.
like, if you want to take that stuff down, that's fine. But when you start removing Godzilla and Aquaman and Game of Thrones,
It's the principle, damn it!
Yeah, when you start removing that stuff, that's when I'm going to have an issue. This isn't stuff anybody watches.
I don't watch Sesame Street, but they made, like, when Warner Brothers made that deal, because Sesame Street's only ever been on PBS, but of course PBS is going under.
Yeah.
So they had to get funding for Sesame Street somehow. They made the deal with HBO to let them air new episodes and have it on the streaming service. That was a massive deal for people who had kids. People were excited because you couldn't stream Sesame, like the older seasons, because that's what they removed were the older seasons. The new ones are still on there, and then they just remove all the old ones, which was something that they made a big deal about before the merger. And it's kind of like a slap in the face to say, well, you promoted HBO Max as having this content, and that's a reason to subscribe. But now that this merger has happened, the new people are just like, even though that was a selling point, we're getting rid of it.
Well, and you brought up a good point, and this is going to seem like it's deviating, but it makes sense.
No.
But Taco Bell and the Mexican
Oh no,
pizza.
yeah, I did last night.
Okay.
Yes.
Let's talk about that for a second.
Yeah, well, okay, well, it does, because I was reading an article from the CEO who basically had stated that
The CEO of Taco Bell.
yes, Taco
not
Bell,
Warner
not Warner
Brothers.
Brothers. They're officially bringing, obviously in September, the Mexican pizza back full time on full menu. And he stated, we still see this as a low selling item. Yes, it had a boom when we brought it back for a short while, and it'll probably have a huge boom when we bring it back this time. But eventually it's going to bottom out. They know that it's still not going to sell a lot like it did before. But he said it also doesn't cost us anything to make it. So we don't lose money. It just doesn't sell a lot. We were trying to streamline the menu.
Yeah.
But because it's so associated with our brand and customers are happy when it's on the menu, we're going to bring it back because it's a good move for them. Like, he was honest. It was like, I respect that. He was like, it's good for our brand. It doesn't matter. Like, we don't lose money off of it, so why not bring it back?
Well, who goes to Taco Bell and only orders one flipping thing? You don't go to Taco Bell and order a Mexican pizza.
Yeah.
You get a Mexican pizza and 10 tacos.
Nachos and
or
Doritos
nachos
taco.
or in the Cinnabon
quesadilla.
balls or
I get
whatever.
your point, though.
Yeah,
It's the
it's
same
going to
thing.
sell other items.
If it's not really costing you to have these things that you already own on there,
What's the point in pulling them?
if nobody, maybe only 2 or 3 people stream it, but
That's what
again,
I'm saying, like,
it looks bad on
when
your
you go
brand
to
that you're removing your
Kroger
own stuff.
or you go to Walmart and they have to remove products from the shelf to put new products up there because the ones that are up there aren't selling, that makes sense. You've got physical space that's being taken up. When you're talking about digital technology, you have all the freaking space in the world. You're not talking about massive amounts of bandwidth.
Yeah, I mean,
being
your
taken
server
up.
cost a lot of money. I'm sure theirs cost more.
Oh, it costs
but again,
millions more.
they're making millions more too.
But yes, and the bandwidth that these few movies that none of us have ever heard of or probably even going to watch is not taking up a lot of their streaming service. So why not just include them?
All you're doing is creating negative press for yourself, though.
It is taking up real estate, though.
What real estate?
So when you're on the screen, when I'm flipping through HBO Max, just skip all. Like, I skip all that crap anyway. I'm not saying it's expensive.
I didn't think about it that way, but
there is
I agree.
like, they have metrics that are like, okay, 99.9% of people skip over this thing.
Yeah.
Why, like, whatever, we'll give them something more interesting. So I get, you can leave it at the bottom. You can
That's
leave
what
it
I'm saying.
10 screens deep.
They have like a better out, like, because Netflix, based on your viewing, will suggest. Because like, if I look at Brandon's Netflix account, the things I see on there,
it kind of pisses me off.
Yeah,
it's all like child cheerleading and stuff like that.
But I never see the same movies on my
Cheers
Netflix
a good
account that I
show.
see on
I know,
his
I
because
watched
it's
it too.
suggesting things to him that are similar to what he
Cuties.
likes. So it's like, yeah.
It's all cuties.
It never suggests cuties to me, It only suggests it for Brandon. I get upset about it.
It suggested it.
That's
I watched
because
it.
Netflix is tracking where your phone is, and they know his phone is within 500 feet of an elementary school. So they know we're going to
That's the only
share that
reason.
stuff.
He's not supposed to be within 500
It's
feet of
500
elementary
yards,
school.
yeah, I think.
Well, the thing is they just built a new one, and it's about,
It's within 500
it's
yards.
501 yards away.
That's true.
So I'm safe.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah, I'm all right.
You can't go to the mailbox.
Are we done
Well, real quick,
taking the piss out of
to-
streaming?
Well, to bring up Neil's point, I agree. I mean,
Yeah.
screen real estate is definitely important, and I agree with you. Even it's like that's a problem I do have with Netflix, because when you do suggest certain things based on your viewing history, now there's some stuff that other people see that I don't, that I still may be interested in, and I'll see it on your screen at your house.
Watch a bigger variety then.
But,
Gosh.
but no. Here's the problem. But there's even things that I would watch, but I don't know it's on your platform. And almost always now, I don't even check Netflix. I go to my phone, I'll type it into Google, and Google tells me
Yeah,
what
it tells you
streaming
where to
service
see it.
it's on.
Yeah,
And if
yeah.
it's on one I subscribe to, I just go and pull it up
I
on
do
there.
that on my Roku, because Roku will tell you everywhere you could stream for free,
Yeah.
rent, buy.
Right.
My Apple TV
Right,
does
exactly.
that too, yeah.
So it's like, for me, that's the way I got around the streaming service,
Yeah.
because you're right, that screen real estate is important. But my problem is, I would agree, bury it, put it somewhere else. But just like, I'll probably never revisit House of Cards because they butchered it in the last season because, they had
Kevin
a pedophile.
Spacey, he wouldn't keep his hands to himself.
Right.
Yeah.
But even still, it was a great, phenomenal show. Netflix is never going to remove it because it's still available. And granted, the first 5 seasons of it is fantastic.
Yeah.
And I would recommend that to somebody and say, hey, this is a Netflix original. Go watch it. I mean, I would
have
never
watched it, but now that I know that it ends like crap, I can't.
It's not worth it.
Yeah, I'm like,
It's not.
it's one of those things, like, I don't want to be disappointed. I don't want to watch 5 great seasons and then see crap and be like,
it's not. It's
That's how I
definitely.
felt about Lost, but I still wrote it out until 6 episodes from the end.
Yeah.
And then
then you stopped. You really never finished.
And then I stopped.
That's like the ultimate.
I
like,
liked it better the second time through. I appreciated it more than I knew what to expect.
well,
so.
maybe because you know how it's going to end.
Yeah.
It actually honestly made more, like, knowing how it ends, you can actually see some of the build to it better. Like, it doesn't seem as random. I'm like, okay.
But I don't know. To me, I'm fine. Like, put it at the bottom, put it in another menu. At least make it searchable. Like, let me search for it if I want to. And because if I am a fan of
Netflix
that
does
show,
have a search option.
well, and that's what I'm saying. If I'm a fan of it, I at least want to make sure I can go back and revisit it, because there's probably going to be bound to be somebody who watched it.
I just put that stuff in my list, like Netflix.
Your queue,
they all have something different, like different phrase for it.
It was like, even with Disney, though, I went to watch X-Men the other night just to revisit the first X-Men movie. And on Disney, you have to search for it. It's not on the screen. It's not
It's
in
in
their
the Marvel section.
It's not in the Marvel section. It is not.
Which
it's
one?
under their legacy
I
movies.
could not find it. I
Really?
looked through every Marvel freaking movie on there. I
Yeah.
went to series, I went to movies, I went to everything. I ended up
They
having
have
to
a
search
legacy under the Marvel banner because they don't want you to confuse it with anything in the MCU. So they call them their like legacy
it.
movies. They
I
got
could not
X-Men
find
and
it.
Fantastic
But
Four
I mean,
on
when I
there.
searched it, I found it. But I'm like, it wasn't long ago that they did they acquire it recently in the last year or two?
Fox, they've
yeah.
had Fox.
They
but I
did
mean,
last
but it
Fox,
wasn't
yeah.
on their streaming platform until recently.
Yeah, they slowly added
And
them
I'm
one
like,
by one.
wouldn't you throw that kind of up to the front that you have it now, and it's such a big.
Oh,
They
they
did certain ones.
It's been about a year since they've had the original X-Men
Yeah.
on there.
But there
so
were
that might be
certain-
why it's because they did promote it when they first
Yeah,
put
but
it
when
on
you
there.
when you log on to Disney and they got the Pride section up there, but they don't have X-Men anywhere to find, that pisses me off.
Well,
Like,
because they're promoting their newer
I wanna
Marvel
watch
stuff.
that.
Doctor Strange and She-Hulk
But
and Miss Marvel or
She-Hulk
what's at
was-
the top of
oh my
the
God, I
banner.
don't
we
about
don't even
that.
need to watch
I don't even
She-Hulk.
wanna talk about
I saw it. Yeah.
But let's move on. Let's talk about our next headline in order, which is, of course, we already hinted at it earlier, but Alec Baldwin is just freaking nuts. We talked about Kevin Spacey going on. Look, Alec Baldwin needs to do some time. I'm sorry, the dude is off his rocker. He is guilty of sin. The guy needs to be locked up.
It pisses me
he
off
pulled the
that
trigger
he
and
wants-
he killed a
yes.
woman. He needs to go to prison. Done.
He keeps shirking responsibility, which makes me mad. But then what he did recently just doubled my anger because he turned it all about him. He said, the only time I was worried or nervous was when the news was because I thought Trump supporters would come out to try to kill me. And I'm like, what? Like, you killed a woman and you're worried about some random Trump supporters who don't give a crap about you coming after you? Like, it's just such an egotistical and weird way to make something political that wasn't political to try to get a target off his back that's not even there.
I mean, Trump did say he probably killed her on purpose.
Yes, he
but
did.
he didn't say we should kill him.
We should go kill Alec Baldwin.
There was no call to action there.
He just I mean, yes, what Trump said was stupid because Trump says stupid things all the time.
Actually,
but
it's funny
there was
that
no call to
It's funny
violence.
he even brought that up because then I read the article we're going to have linked to. I don't even want to give it any time on air.
Yeah.
But the fact is they quote him in the article, and the quote he has is specifically, it's dead up wrong.
Yeah.
He talks about how he not only incited violence for January 6th and the Capitol riots, but that he also that he's the reason they shot a woman. And I'm like, it was Capitol Police that shot the woman.
Yeah.
And that was the only person who died on January 6th.
Yeah.
So even in his own quote, which I love that Variety, the article we linked to, doesn't even they don't even correct it.
Yeah.
They don't even correct that his information was wrong. They let the statement stand and not even put it into question. But the fact is the
She was
dude's off
unarmed,
his
too.
rocker. Yeah. And I just think it's absolutely ridiculous that he is grasping at straws for whatever he can to try to take the heat off of his back. And it just makes him look more guilty.
And it's like, look, I don't. I laugh because Trump, he just says stupid stuff. But no, I don't think Alec Baldwin did it on purpose.
No.
But he did do it. And maybe it was an accident. I believe that. But I'm sorry, you were negligent and irresponsible.
It's involuntary manslaughter.
Yeah, yes,
Like
exactly.
there's no other way you can slice it.
It's like, I'm sorry, you still are responsible for it, whether it was an accident or not. This woman lost her life.
Yes.
And for you to be disrespectful to her life and her family by acting like now everybody's going to be out to get you. It's like, I'm sorry. You're
not the victim
You
here.
deserve punishment.
You're
not
the victim is dead because of you and the gun that you held and pulled the trigger on. And the FBI investigation that just finalized and came out says they do not stand by his statements on the
They said there's
issue.
no way that it could have fired without him pulling the trigger.
Yeah.
And he still stands by it. And that's why I think it's funny is I'm like, at no point in this article do they try to correct or corroborate any of the evidence that has been brought to light or any evidence that's leaked from the FBI investigation, who seems to be their heroes nowadays. But it's funny that I do believe it's hilarious that it's like, come on, the guy is guilty. His obviously convictions about what happened that day are wrong. He's using it to save face and try to save himself. And it just, again, he looks more and more guilty as time goes on. And I just fear that what's ultimately going to happen is nothing. Because just like so many in the media clamor today about how, nothing happens to the big, rich, and the powerful. And I'm like, well, here's a perfect example. Alec Baldwin could be that guy that you easily say, here's someone who could fall, here's someone that you could set as an example of who deserves to go to prison.
Nothing happened to Jussie Smollett.
Nothing happened to Epstein.
Yeah. True.
Alrighty, I'm sorry. I had to throw that out there. Alrighty, let's move on to. I think we're getting close to the end of our headlines.
We're close.
We are going to talk
got
about
like 2 more.
We should have kind of roped this one in with our talk of HBO Max and Disney Plus.
Yeah.
But streaming finally overtook cable in viewership.
I'm really surprised it took this long, but then when streaming makes dumb decisions like they have, I guess.
And there is a correction. It has overtaken in months past before.
Yeah.
But it never has overtaken for cable and broadcast.
Yeah.
It finally overtook both. So I think it's interesting. Is this a turning of the tide? Do we see this as being more and more consistent?
Well, go ahead.
They claimed it was like kind of a perfect storm of releases. So I'm not sure that it would be sustained, but
I would agree.
We'll see.
I kind of agree.
I mean, I think as time goes on, I mean, we've talked about this before. Cable is going to die, and I mean, but then again, when streaming services are now talking about adding all these ad-based, and granted, I know you could still pay for ad-free. It's one of those things where I don't want to go back to cable. Since I've owned my own house, I've never paid for cable because it's just.
It's not worth it.
It's not. You can't. Look, with streaming, you can watch what you want when you want to watch it without ads, unless you don't pay for ad free now. It's just, as much as sometimes streaming services do tick me off, it's still not worth it to me to go back to cable.
Yeah, the convenience factor. Because, I mean, even cable tried to combat that with DVR. They try to say, well, you can record your show.
Or on demand.
It's a hassle to set up. I mean, it really is. To set up the recording and then go back and watch it. Yeah, you can fast forward. You can do that with Netflix.
Yeah.
It's just, I don't really mind the ads because even streaming services they still have less ads than commercials on cable. Like, cable commercials are 1 and 2 minutes long sometimes.
I hate ads.
And there's 3 or 4 of them in a row.
I hate them.
And ads are just nowhere near as bad. As the only thing about ads that I hate is that it's the same ads over and over again. At least with cable, you
Here's
get
the weird
different
thing,
commercials.
I think it's because of the different type of beast that is streaming versus cable. Because streaming was started as the anti-cable.
Yeah.
And if you're an early adopter, it's like you don't want to see ads because it was. I mean, I've heard
I'm
this
okay
from.
with ads
hold on,
in certain situations.
I've heard this from people who grew up with over-the-top television.
Yeah.
When it came out, you didn't have advertising on TV.
Yeah.
Ads came later at the invention. I mean, yeah, you had your soap operas that advertised certain things, but you ultimately had ads reserved for cable when it came out, and then people were even complaining like, wait, so I got to pay for this cable subscription and then watch advertisements?
Yeah.
And I mean, the only thing is I guess maybe because I grew up with it, it wasn't foreign to me. But then the weird thing is that's what I associate anything on TV with. I know I'm going to get ads, and I ultimately know I'm not missing anything. Like even if a live TV, they have ads, but the live TV is cut around the advertisement time.
They plan breaks.
Right. Whereas with streaming, like I've seen shows where it's like I can watch it full through in an episode, and there is no break for an ad. It's straight up the whole, and it's harder, I think. I mean, I don't know. That's a whole creative discussion you could have as to whether or not you want, because sometimes shows like Breaking Bad fill that tension.
That's
and
when I
they're
have
really
problems
good.
with ads and streaming services. When it's something like, because Tubi's actually really good about this. Things that were made for TV, but like they actually will put their ads right where the ad break's supposed to go. And then for a lot, but when you have like movies and stuff that aren't supposed to have ads, I can't stand like. And granted, they're still really good about putting them in like the cut between scenes, so like you're not like. Middle of a scene, go to ad. Like some streaming services are bad about that, and Tubi's really good of actually placing them in cuts. But it just bothers me, like when you're going like I can't stand a movie to have ads in the movie. If it's before and after the movie, that's fine.
Yes.
But if I'm watching a movie on a streaming service and an ad pops up, even when it's well done, like Tubi does, I'm just like, man, stop.
You just broke that. You broke the element. Well, and also one place I've really hated it, and I know they have a solution. Of course, it's paid. I can't stand ads on YouTube.
Yeah.
It used to be a 5-second ad.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest, I know I'm probably the only one at the table here, but a majority of my time on streaming now is on YouTube. They've got me in the rabbit hole. Their algorithm is good. I watch stuff, and then boom, I'll start watching one thing after another that they pop up there as you may like this. And then I'm like, yeah, I do. Let's watch it. And then
my dad.
I love it. And the problem is, and there's great content providers. I hope to be one someday. But the fact is that when I start a video, and even if it's a freaking 15-second ad, more than likely I'm willing, like, okay, sometimes the skip ad will pop up there.
Yeah.
But there's times where it's like ad 1 of 2, and they're both 15 seconds. And even for a 30-second flipping ad, which is way shorter than cable television, it pisses me off.
Yeah. Well, sometimes I'll just hit back and then I'll go pick another video. It's like I'm not even going to sit through this 30 seconds to watch this video.
I do the same thing because sometimes the video I'm wanting to watch, the content in and of itself is not warranted for that.
Yeah.
It's just like, oh, I was interested in it, but if you break my attention, I mean, it's sad because you could probably do a social science experiment and say, obviously how short our attention spans are, but if I click on it and I don't get that instant gratification, I'm backing out and I'm never revisiting your video.
Well, even okay, I'm the same way. I hate like ads, or not even ads, like YouTube videos that are going to show you like how to do it videos that like, let me show you how to do this, but then they spend like 20 minutes just blabbering about nothing and setting things up, and it's like, I don't need 20 minutes of a setup, just show me how to do the damn thing.
Well, they spend 20 minutes blabbering about products that they're trying to push,
well,
and it's like, you just showed me ads before your video, and now the first 20 minutes are how you're in partnership with this whey protein And you want me to drink that before I put a hole in my wall.
Well, a lot of
before you show me how to put a light switch on. God,
the more interactions and more views they get for a longer time, like the more like money they get. So they try to stretch it out and keep you interacted, so they can keep getting views.
That's why I like things like JP, Awaken with JP. All of the ads, all of his product push is at the end. It's at the very end.
Well, one that I watched, Linus Tech Tips. He integrates them in, but I at least appreciate the amount of creativity they go through, joking around about. And by the way, our video today is brought to you by our sponsor, just as helpful as blah, 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 and what the video they're talking about. And it's like, but the problem is then you've got a mixture of, okay, YouTube's got its ad program, and then you've got the actual people who are creating the content having their advertisers. So now there's been times where I'm in the middle of a video, and then halfway through, it does the annoying thing of, because there are no breaks in YouTube videos, it cuts into the middle of the video when I'm engaged, immediately starts doing a 30-second ad I can't skip, and then when I come back, immediately it cuts into a sponsored ad from the creative content, and I'm like, can I just watch the freaking video in peace? No. And then YouTube's like, you could subscribe to YouTube Red. You can get our YouTube ad-free subscription, and I'm like, not doing that.
But the content creator is not.
That's not their
exactly.
Their ads are still going to be there,
right? And I'm sorry, but you're telling me that, and this is what I'd like to see is, okay, is Google making a crap ton of money off of these ads on YouTube to support not only that platform but other services? Because you can't tell me that they're not making money in other ventures to where they could provide ad-free service for YouTube, which is exactly what it was before. But because it's gotten bigger and better, they now are wanting.
Yeah, they don't have to.
No, they don't have to.
If they can make money, they'll make the money.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's like, I mean, I think streaming services are going to find themselves in that same boat of having that fine line between how do we appease our consumer base, but we also still got to make money. Oh, well, we'll pull Avatar right now, have them go back to the theater, or even if it's not available for a while, it'll be that much more wanted whenever we bring it back to our platform, or it may even cause a few thousand people to go out and buy the Blu-ray because they want to see it that bad.
I'm just going to take one of I'm going to take one of Sean's.
Yeah. You can all have one. If you'd like to revisit it, I have one.
So
I got you.
Even though streaming is beating cable right now, and I do see that trend continuing, I think they have their own sorts of problems that they're going to have to work out over time. It's not a done deal of, I mean, obviously, new... Go ahead, Neil.
Well, they're a lot newer, right? They're much newer than cable. And, like, the competition hasn't really been that fierce for that long. So they're all just figuring it out. And like, you never look good figuring things out. That scared the crap out of me.
My dog jumped on me.
I know. It's okay. Oh, she licked my elbow. And
she licked your weenus.
Yeah, she jumped out of my skin. God. Yeah. So I think maybe it's growing pains. Maybe it's competition figuring itself out. I don't know. Hopefully we'll all be better off in the end, but it's going to be messy on the way.
True,
yeah,
and
I would agree. Like the Dark Crystal.
Dang, you brought it up that time. Alrighty, I think we're actually ready to move on to our final segment.
I think so.
I think we're ready to hit up our Vices segment.
Let's
Had
do
a plethora of headlines there. We got through them all.
We did. That was amazing.
That was amazing.
A packed show.
Here is our Vices segment. Oh, I clapped for her and she came back in.
There
she is.
I don't know. It just
had
to come out.
Could you?
I had to.
Gosh.
I'm really looking forward to the rest of this week.
I know. This is our final segment, and then we're Lake Trip bound, guys. Not tonight, but tomorrow. Let's talk about it.
Tonight.
Keith, you came up with our segment.
Did I?
Yeah.
Okay.
Why don't you bring it up?
I gotta pull it back up because I don't remember how it was. I remember the gist of it.
I got it right here.
Which is more important, protecting people from themselves or people's right to choose to live their lives in whatever manner they prefer?
It's a deep one.
It is.
It could have been a relationship segment too.
I mean, it's vices because you protect in the way that should people like
be able to, I guess, dive in or
do whatever
indulge
they
in their
do whatever
vices?
they like, because I mean you do, that's like laws, how you make up laws for whether it's drugs, sex, whatever. I mean,
drugs.
I'm just saying, like, obviously
killing people.
You have laws to protect people from dangerous things, whatever it is.
At what point does your morality dictate what the law is versus the other way around?
Yeah.
Should laws dictate
because
morality?
in general, I don't feel that large bodies who are interested in maintaining their power should have a massive control over how you live your life if you want to do certain things. But there does come a point where you also have to keep from the degradation of society, and you can't just let people do whatever they feel like. Because I know a lot of people are like, well, as long as they don't harm anyone else and it's only them, then what does it matter what they do? And it's like, in a sense, I agree. Like, there is a certain point where I'm like, look, it's your right if you're at home butthole naked doing whatever weird thing you want to do, go for it. I mean, you know, if I'm in my basement,
Why did you
that's
look
my
at
business.
me when you said that?
Well, because only
It's always sexual.
because listen,
That's where his mind goes.
out of all
whatever
the
weird-
people that are going to end up naked, I figure it's going to be either me or you. So I can't look at myself.
You already started that earlier.
We were
That's
talking
hands
about
down.
your hairy butt earlier.
Um,
Neil. We've seen it a number of times.
But yeah, I just
hopefully this weekend.
there's a lot. I'm trying to not get too political, but I don't really know how you get not with this kind
So
of.
are
I
you,
don't think you
are you
have
saying
to.
that I should get vaccinated or not? I'm confused.
Okay, yeah, that's a good point. There we go. Vaccination.
Yeah.
I don't believe that it is.
I mean,
is-
I killed at least 40 people by not getting
But
vaccinated.
I agree. That should be your choice and your decision.
It should be my
Kill
choice
40
to kill 40
Yeah.
people?
Yeah.
Okay.
I would not go into that moral gray area.
No, I'm talking about vaccinating, not killing people.
I look at it in, you know, to go back away from the vaccine talk.
I know.
I look at it as a micro and a macro.
Yeah.
And to me, absolutely, in the micro decision, or I'm sorry, in the macro decision making process, I think you should, to a certain degree, legislate certain moral choices, because you have to have a sense of society in order for it to sustain itself, have moral principles as its precepts, that you can have a functioning and cohesive society. And I think that the moment you start dealing with taboos that are a live and let live mentality is the moment society is going to degrade and fall apart. And I think we see a large part of that in today's culture.
Yeah.
But I also believe in a micro, that's where in a micro setting, throughout my daily life, I am much more a live and let live. I'm much more libertarian, because in that sense, it's up to me and my influence and how I live my life that I'm going to best influence my neighbor and those around me, that it is a healthy, prosperous lifestyle to live. And that, to me, is not where I can dictate what my neighbor does, just like they can't dictate to me what I do with my life. And in that case, absolutely, I'm not for legislating on a micro level scale what people should do in their own homes. But on a macro scale, I do think when you want to talk about in terms of the vaccine mandate and get into that category, it's like, no, you have to look at things in terms of severity and in terms of precedent. And I think when you're willing to have such an overreaching hand of government, of politic, of whatever body of power, the problem there lies in fact that you're now legislating that this very thing that only affects a certain small group of people is now something that is paramount to the individuals as themselves. And I think that's a problem.
I think what originally sparked this idea in me is again, without getting too deep into things, is some talk that's happened in recent weeks about people like protecting citizens. So it's okay to hide certain information, or it's okay to do this to stop this ultimate evil that's not really evil. So when is it okay for the government to just be like, look, we know what's best for you, and if this person gets elected or if this person is in charge, we know that's going to be bad, so it's okay for us to hide certain things to make sure that person doesn't get power, because that would be detrimental to society. And that's when I have a problem with government or whoever that thinks we know what's best for you, so it's okay for us to be shady to obtain these means, because otherwise you would be harmful to yourself. That's not for you to decide what's harmful for me. Let people vote, let people make their decisions, and if you don't like the outcome, because we don't look. This is not a Hitler situation. I believe right now in America between Democrats, Republicans. I don't think either side has Hitler trying to just mass murder the other side. Even though that's how both sides want to act. Like, oh, if that person gets elected, it's going to be the end of the world. I don't think it's quite that drastic. So let people decide for themselves. I don't think the government should be saying, well, we have to do this to protect you from yourself. That to me is wrong.
Yeah.
Well, and okay, anybody else real quick want to jump in on that? Freedom to choose, freedom to protect.
Yeah.
Which side do you come down on?
I guess I would say that anything like this I approach from the moral standpoint, but I also think that we get our morals from a different place. And I think there's a lot of people that would disagree with that. They think that morals are man-made. I don't. I think morals are God-given. And I think that we have those morals encoded in us. We know right from wrong. And I think collectively with things like murder and stealing and things like, you could argue that, okay, well, we based our laws off the Ten Commandments. Most laws in the world, even in other religions, are based off similar laws, whether it's from a different person, a different religion or whatever. They have a set in stone morality that was given to them. But I think even collectively, people would eventually understand that taking another life, a human life, is wrong without it being thou shalt not kill. We would have came up with that anyway. We didn't have the Ten Commandments, and Cain knew that killing his brother was wrong, and that was long before the commandments. So I think it's something that's encoded in us. We are given and gifted morality, and I do think that there is a greater it's kind of like I said, collectively we would agree that murder is wrong, not getting into things like abortion and things like that, but just killing another human being. We know it's wrong. I don't think it takes a majority vote to tell you that. But the majority would come together and say, killing is wrong. I think with smaller issues like things that, and I'm not going to name things, just things that if you've listened to this podcast, you know what we believe, what we agree and don't agree with. So if it was something against my beliefs or a lifestyle that I think is wrong or whatever, immoral or whatever, that's, again, what your neighbor does is their own business, and the consequences of that lifestyle are their own as well. It's not up to me to decide those consequences. Coming back to something like the vaccine mandate, they tried to take away the thought of, that's your decision, it's your body, it's only going to affect you, and instead they pinned it on, well, no, that's going to affect other people too.
Right.
So now your morality has to be decided by us because you don't know what's best for yourself, and you're not trying to take care of your neighbor. And that's where, again, going to what both of you have said, I think that kind of overreach is opening a doorway to much greater problems than just a vaccine mandate. Because then it comes down to, well, your religion has caused a lot of trouble in the past, and at one time we thought it's okay for you to believe what you believe and for your neighbor, but we don't think what you believe is good for everybody.
Well, now it's
now we're going to take that away.
My beliefs,
right.
Well, and I think that, again, I think that kind of surmises what the idea and the practice in this country, as it was founded on a limited government. The idea was that, for one, we are endowed by our Creator. And I think even the way in which they chose the phrasing wasn't just to say God, but almost to still open it up to, regardless of what your belief is, these inalienable rights come from something other than government. It's not vested by the
they come
government.
from something other than man.
Right. Because anything given by man can be taken away by man. And the founding fathers wanted to make sure, no, these are above and beyond anything a human person can grant you or take away from you, because they wanted to make sure the government couldn't take your rights away. So and that's the point. For me, morals. And yes, I agree with Sean that you don't I think most people would recognize killing's wrong. You don't necessarily have to read the Bible to believe that.
Right.
But at the same time, I do believe that yes, our morals still come from something divine, because if not, then yes, the government. If everything is just given to you by the government, then the government has the power to be like, well,
that's no longer a right.
They have the power to move the bar and be like, well, we used to think this was wrong, but it's okay.
Well, think about slavery. The reason slavery was ultimately outlawed and completely banished from the face of the earth was not other countries or other nations coming to that summation. It was the United States of America saying, we are a country based on the freedom of any individual, and that means that you cannot put a person into involuntary servitude.
And slavery goes against life and liberty.
Exactly.
Yes. And probably the pursuit of happiness, because I don't think any of them were happy.
but no, I would agree. It's like the moment that you completely have that quarrel of human consciousness and saying, okay, not only are we wrestling with this idea, but ultimately we have to come down on the side of this is inherently wrong to subject somebody else to involuntary servitude, to the just based on not only their skin color but in general, is the moment that you open the door for allowing the actual prosperity of what ideals were set forth at the creation of the country. And I think ultimately as Americans, we all kind of grow up with that idea of our own individual prosperity and freedom being what we want to ascertain and what we want to reach. And you have to have, I think, that foundation in able to kind of thwart those authorities that try to come in and take that away. And at least when it's called into question or have a questionable concern when you see things going awry, when you have, a high government official thwarting your rights or putting it into question as to what you should believe or be able to believe or what you should do in your own home. I think anybody, should be able to say, wait a sec, why ultimately are you calling that into question? And ultimately, why are you able to have that authority? Because I think that's how you stop totalitarian or tyranny and dictatorships. Mm-hmm. That's how you stop, a rule from top down. But again, I don't think you can arrive at that kind of, reasoning, intellectually or even, in a society that's worth its salt, without first instituting the ideals and the ideals of morality that are from a creator outside of, government, run by men.
You don't believe our government has divine rule? They're not the new
no,
monarchy?
Neil, I'm sorry. I did not mean to just completely ramrod that whole conversation would not include you. If you have any thoughts on the matter.
I have none.
Oh, come on, Neil.
I'm not going to voice anything here. It's fine. I think that basically I like the idea of small government. If I want X, I can live X because people vote that way. But, moving to X isn't always possible for some people. So some people are stuck in weird scenarios. Like, I don't know, what y'all are talking about is so much bigger than this room. And I think that when you're talking about, we can all agree that murder is bad. That's easy because we all have life. Like that's the one, probably one of the only things we can all agree on is we all have life. And we're all scared to death, literally, to lose it. So that's one, I think, kind of easy thing to agree on without getting into something like abortion. When you get into like smoking in this context is a good example. There's kind of an easy compromise. Like secondhand smoke is dangerous. If you want to smoke, do it up. Just don't do it inside. Go outside and do that. You're not going to affect anybody there. But a lot of things aren't that easy. Like those are probably two of the maybe easier ones. I think it just gets complicated quick. And
well, I think too, you open up a good point of just saying in general, I think that's why you also had the founders who really wanted to put not only a limited government in terms of federally, but when you turn to states' rights, I mean, when you had the whole Civil War over slavery, because that's what people want to say was the argument of states' rights.
Yeah.
But again,
right?
Again,
right to slavery.
But well, exactly. And it's like, should you be able to, as a state, institute slavery? And it's like, no, because you are subjecting.
It's morally wrong.
It's morally wrong. And at that point, if you're siding with the people who fought to end slavery, and rightfully so, to free all men, and because all men are created equal.
That's something much more macro.
Right.
That's something the government should get involved in, because that's you're stepping on the rights of an entire race.
And I was gonna say, I think, and we're not gonna dive into it on this podcast. We can have a private conversation about it. But it's like that's where you in today's world you could get into arguments with trans rights and LGBTQ, and how far do you take it to where an individual who gets to choose how to live their life but completely denies that of reality at what point do you go along with the madness and go along with saying you get to create your own world and live within it, and I hereby am subject to somehow agree to it? And I think that is one of the great battles in our time that I think we're waging right now, because I think when you get to such a prosperous level in the country where you're not faced with certain hardships or certain,
that's exactly,
I think you then have to, you start realizing, okay, do we live in our own reality and do we get to create it? Because the problem is that the discussions, and I think this is probably my main issue with our culture wars today, so much of it is out of touch with every other human in the world. Only first world. I mean, you talk about the phrase first world problems.
Yeah.
We've got them here, and we constantly have them in our headlines. And nobody seems to look up from their phone and freaking look out at the world and say, oh, wow, no, poverty's still a thing.
There's people
Hunger's still a
struggling to
thing.
survive.
There's still other people who don't get to just fight and bicker over, well, I have a penis, but I want a vagina. And I'm sorry, I think the world we live in could be served by taking a little emphasis off the self, which we're so self-indulged in this country. And granted, that's a problem with the whole pull yourself up by your bootstraps and you get individual liberty and pursuit of happiness. Okay, yes, but it has to be tempered. It has to be focused. And I'm sorry, but completely unmanaged freedom is not freedom. You're still a slave in chains. And I think that ultimately is that's the full, to me, as a God-fearing person, that's the foolishness of a sinful life. Is thinking you have freedom in sin, and it's not. You're shackled by chains, by your addictions, and by the problems that you see as something that is fulfilling when it's not. It's self-indulgent, it's narcissistic behavior, and you are self-centered. And it takes a moral country and a moral populace and a moral community, not from the top down, but from those who live in your community with you, to say, this is wrong, it needs to be brought to your attention, and we have the authority to tell you it's wrong because of these moral precepts.
Yeah,
I agree. Bottoms up is always better
actually
than
look
top
at that. What you just said, it actually reminds me kind of how, and I had this conversation with Brian and Kristen like last week. We kind of talked about church and stuff, and it makes me think of a church. Like, you don't, very rarely, if there's something in your life that the people you get together with at church, fellow believers or whatever, very rarely does the pastor come to you and say, hey, I heard that you're struggling with pornography right now, and blah 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 blah. Like, no, it's usually the person that sits next to you in Bible study. It's usually someone that you are. It's not from the top down. It's usually your neighbor. It's usually the person that you meet with every week.
You commune with.
Right.
Yeah.
It's one of your fellow believers. And that's, I think it needs to be, like you said, if we're relying on the higher ups to tell us what is right and what is wrong, that's not gonna work. And I'm not saying that we should judge one another, but holding each other accountable is something we are supposed to do. And I feel like that comes from a lateral level. That shouldn't come necessarily from the top down. It should come from the person to your right or left. And that's why I feel like even modeling our system of government on something like a good church would be done well, as far as, yes, it's not up to that guy at the podium or to make the decisions. It needs to be. I need to be reminded by the people
Checks
to the
and
right and
balances,
left.
yeah.
Well, I was going to
Exactly,
say,
yeah.
and again, kind of macro. It's like the macro is the preacher getting up there to the pulpit, or the community leader, the politician getting up there and speaking to the ideals, and that's fine. It's like, that's what I need to be held accountable to. Then it's those who know me best in the pews or in my community, who are my friends and family that know me best, know what I'm struggling with. Because there's going to be times when I hear a message from somebody, and I know how to interpret that message, and I know best who that affects and who I can either hold them accountable or even just help them or go to them with that thing in mind and a need. And then there's going to be another message that doesn't sink into me, that sinks into them, and they're going to say, oh, I know him, and they know me, and I'm struggling with certain things, and they can be that one that checks and balances on me.
The key word you said there is community, because we've seen the downcline of community, and like you said, a lot of people are so much more self-centered now, and it does add to the degradation of society, because back when people were a much closer knit community and you looked out for each other and you built each other up, that businesses thrived, society thrived. But now people don't really do that anymore. I mean, people don't even talk to their next door neighbor. They stay in their house, on their phone, on the computer, on the internet.
Well, we have these weird, like, fictional communities. Yeah. Like these fictional communities online. Well, that's the thing.
You took it out of my mouth.
Yeah. That's exactly it. Yeah. I mean, the problem with being on social media is you have this false sense of community when, I mean...
But those people can't be there for you. I mean, if you're feeling down and you could chat with... There's that,
well, that's the problem.
It's not
Anybody
the same.
can get online and write a post that talking about how depressing their day was or how bad a day was, and someone can get on there, or even somebody can get on there and talk about how amazing their life is. And you could likewise get on there and either be a troll and completely make them feel terrible about themselves.
You should feel like a failure. those are the funnest.
You
contributing to the degradation.
Yes.
But then, or you can get on there and you can actually be, let down by some of the things you see, and it make you feel worse, or somebody who can get on there and try to cheer you up.
Media. You watch the news or anything on the internet anymore, you do get depressed. And I'm not saying it's better to hide those things. I mean, you should know the truth, but
But there's a problem
so inundated.
Inundated with information that I mean, that's the problem, is so many of our issues in society are these macro level issues that really have no impact on our day to day. And then there's so many little things that happen day to day or locally that we don't even worry or care about because we're so out of touch and we're worried about things that are out of our control. And I mean, again, this kind of goes back to the whole, Jordan Peterson, learn how to clean your room. It's like when you wake up and you can make your own damn bed before you walk out the door, maybe you should worry about that before you go try to fight climate change. Because that's a macro level issue that not one person is going to be able to fix or change. And I'm sorry, but when you worry about your own responsibilities and you've got your own house in order, that's when you can start to focus on things that are a little bit outside of that. And don't start with, oh, now I've got my house in order, boom, I'm jumping to government. It's like, no, start in your community, start with your neighbor next door, start with your closest friends, start with your family.
It's like a puzzle. Each piece comes together to correct the whole. So if each community worries about fixing their community, if everybody did that, then yes, the larger
world
society
would be a better
would
place.
be better.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%.
You just got to put the pieces together.
And that's what we're going to do this week. A lot of community at the lake.
It's like realistically,
solving the world's problems.
Realistically,
one lake trip at a time.
How many of us actually do have our house in order?
No, I don't.
Oh, no.
I mean,
no.
And that right there goes to what Jordan Peterson's talking about. It could take you a lifetime to get your house in order. Right. So stop trying to solve all these other issues.
The thing is in the world, believe it or not, in a weird way, is a lot better off if you spent your entire life trying to get your own house in order.
Yeah.
Because that's the thing. When you multiply that by everybody who was doing the same thing, you'd find out real quick that everybody just focused on their own. And that's where the individual does matter. But when you are so focused on making yourself better that you actually start to inhibit and create that external force and factor into the greater community as a whole, that's when you start making real change and real difference in the world. And that's where it has to start. Alrighty, guys. Neil, did you want to add anything? I'm sorry, we ramrod it again. My bad.
Hey, I listened to the podcast. It's not like I wasn't expecting this.
He knows. He does. I know. We do this every time.
It was a good segment. Good topic, Keith.
Yeah, that was great.
Good job.
Thank you all so much for tuning in. As always,
I wanted to make our already dense show that much more denser.
Hey, we still coming in at our normal time.
No, it's we
actually with
actually
like 5 headlines and everything.
It's a dense beast of a show.
I think for beast. Yeah, I think for having been off, missed so many shows, this one made up for some of it.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
That's the way we.
Will it make up for the future missed episodes that Brandon was previewing earlier?
Maybe. Who can tell?
Let's see how the lake goes.
Yeah.
Let's see if you all are alive by the time me and Jacob get there.
We're going to practice morality.
Get our house in order.
They're gonna get there and there's gonna be another tree on the trailer and we're all dead.
You'd be like, no, he's gonna be like,
We're all trapped under it.
Did it fall? It's like, no, we cut this down.
Yeah.
We were just bored one night.
Yeah.
We just went outside and decided to cut a tree down.
We just said, let's do this thing.
Alrighty, guys. Thank y'all so much for watching. Right there at the bottom of the screen.
Yeah.
Red Moon Book, Red Moon Tweet, Red Moon Picks, and just search for Red Moon Productions on YouTube.
Productions.
Like, share, subscribe. We appreciate all of the friendly chatter and anything you all can do for us. Also, if you like that old-fashioned way, you can email us, rmpodcast@redmoonproductions.com. I think that's going to do it for this episode, guys. Neil, thank you for joining me tonight.
Yeah.
And
Anytime.
can't wait for you to come down and enjoy the lake trip with us.
I'm worried about what I'm going to find when I get there.
How long has it been?
5 or 6 years.
Whoo!
Something
Man,
like that.
it's finally happening. I can barely contain my excitement. It's
I'm
so
so
excited. I just can't hide.
Actually, I thought you were doing the Jesse Spano from Saved by the Bell. You don't know that.
No.
So.
No.
I'm so excited.
Oh, wow.
So scared.
Is this
it's so
the
good.
part where I protect you from yourself?
It's where they tried to make
And tell
Jesse
you.
Spano have a drug addict problem, and she was taking caffeine pills.
I'm gonna be honest.
That
with
was the
you.
extent that
Oh,
Saved by the
wow.
Bell went
I've probably
to.
seen a total of 15 episodes and remember none of them. I just never got into Saved by
No.
the Bell.
Saved by the Bell was
I love
I
Boy
didn't
Meets
either.
World, but I never got into Saved by the Bell.
Boy Meets World's good. I'm watching Scrubs, by the way, right now. I'm on
He's
season 4.
actually, yeah, he's chugging through it pretty good.
I'm trying to get through it. It's
enjoying
good.
it.
Trying to. Okay.
I
If
actually
you have to try that hard to get through it, it's not meant for you.
No. Not okay. I didn't mean it like that. I'm trying to get through it because I have so much other to watch.
Yeah.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
I'm planning on doing like
enjoying
Buffy,
it.
Join the club.
doing Buffy and
I told him at this
Angel
point he
next.
really didn't have to worry about those, but he still wants to.
Just don't do it.
Don't.
Buffy
not-
and Angel, just don't do it. Scrubs, do it. Buffy and Angel,
I thought that was like one of your favorites.
I love it. It's
Why-
very long.
I mean, I want to do the whole back and forth.
Most of it didn't age well.
He's committed. It
Really?
didn't age well. I told him it didn't age.
No.
Well, I warned you, but
Well, because of the special
no,
effects.
for its time, it was revolutionary though. So, and Brandon is good about keeping those things in mind. So
Yeah.
I guess you know.
I mean,
but there's-
I remember there being some. I mean, it started in '97, so I know it's not going to.
Oh, I told him there's definitely terrible episodes. He knows about that.
But
Hey, Pokemon
Firefly-
aged well, and
Yeah.
it started then, so
Pokemon's still going.
I know.
They need to get rid of some
That
of
was a
these
good.
Pokemon.
That was a
I
good
told him
pun.
to
It's
let
still
me-
go.
I told him if he watches it, I told him to let me know when he gets to beer bad.
Yeah,
I've been
oh,
told. I've been told to watch out for that
just
one.
skip it.
No, you gotta watch it. You gotta watch.
But there's
the
just so
bad.
many more to watch, and Scrubs is good. I'm just trying to get through to get to other things.
Yeah.
Like, still need to catch up on Stranger Things. Haven't watched it.
Oh, that one you should watch
Yeah.
before Buffy and Angel. You'll get through it a lot faster.
yeah, I can do that.
It's going to take time if you're going to do all of Buffy and Angel and actually go back and forth in order. That's going to take a chunk of time.
I think there was one other thing too. I mean, I made it
Just
through
one?
Game of Thrones. Oh, I know. There's tons. There's
Oh
tons.
yeah, he did finally watch Game of Thrones.
Game of Thrones is awesome.
Great. I haven't seen it.
You
Don't.
still got
Because you gotta
Sons.
watch. You gotta wait for the book.
You still got Sons of Anarchy. You still got. I mean, there's so many that you haven't seen. There's plenty that I haven't seen too. I'm just
Yeah,
saying.
I mean,
There's
And
There's
The
movies,
Bachelorette
too.
is in the middle of its season.
Oh, my gosh.
Right, Megan?
Oh
Yeah,
my
I don't
gosh.
worry about that one.
Is she watching?
That's not one I
She
care
better
about.
be.
We didn't even shout out to Megan.
Hi,
don't know.
Megan.
I just
Hey.
did.
I didn't see she was
She's-
in our list of viewers.
Should be in bed.
No, school starts next week.
Yeah, she's not. God,
And she's jet lagged.
why do you always want her to go to bed?
No, I'm
She
trying
thinks
to keep.
it's 8:30 right now. Her body thinks
He
it's
wants her to
8:30.
get her rest.
That's all it is.
Beauty sleep.
I'm just watching out
God.
for.
It's
for
like
Neil
Neil
being a
told
good
us
husband.
last time
That's
she
all
didn't
it
really
is.
have a bedtime anymore, and you still just insist that she must have one.
I thought she did.
She does when school is in
Yeah,
session.
I got you.
Yeah.
Summertime still. You got one
Right.
more week. Enjoy
Yep.
it. Live it up. Have fun. Get drunk AF.
Yeah.
All right, guys. That's going to do it for this episode. Thank you all so much for
Yeah.
joining us.
Yeah.
Until next week. I'm one of your hosts, Brandon Davidson, alongside our normal new host. And also
And
our special
And-
guest.
Nino.
We hope you enjoyed this week's episode. For more reviews, previous podcast shows, and everything Red Moon, visit our website, redmoonproductions.com. You can also like us on Facebook or follow us on Twitter by searching for Red Moon Productions, LLC. We'll see you at the movies.